But they didn't tell us he was a small boat migrant until the sentencing. Interesting. It was around about that same time that Haidish Kabuti committed his sexual offences as well. So there's loads coming up in the show. You won't want to miss it. We're talking everything small boat migrants. Should they be deported? Should they, in fact, be detained? That's coming up after this.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head our way towards this evening and overnight, any rain will soon ease away, leaving plenty of clear skies, light winds, which means it is going to be feeling cold with some overnight frost. Low pressure has very much been dominating our weather, situated to the north, sweeping in some fronts, particularly across parts of the south and southeast, and that's where we've seen the bulk of the rain through today. But as we progress through into the evening, any rain soon easing away. There could still remain some showers at times, but even these will die off through the early hours of the morning. So mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, so it is going to be turning chilly. Likely we'll see some patchy frost, particularly across Scotland and in northern areas, more widespread here, and possibly even some mist and fog through the early hours of the morning. So for all, it is set to be a chilly start to Thursday. Some patchy frost across Scotland, particularly around any rural areas. It's likely will dip below freezing here. Still some scattered showers, though, around coastal areas. Some thicker areas of cloud just beginning to progress their way into Northern Ireland, but elsewhere across England and Wales, it should be a mostly dry and bright start. That cloud starting to edge its way into parts of Wales and southwest England too. Now, it should be a bright start to the day for many, although it will be chilly, but eventually we'll see more clouds start to push in from the west, remaining dry for many areas, though some wet and windy weather soon skirting into Northern Ireland, perhaps just clipping western areas of England and Wales and also Scotland. A chance these winds could really pick up into the afternoon around coastal areas of Northern Ireland too. A Met Office warning has been issued for these, and still feeling relatively chilly, highs reaching around 14 to 15 degrees Celsius in the south. Cloud outbreaks of rain will continue to push in their way from the west. These will be heavy and rather blustery at times. A good chance we could see further coastal gales through the course of the evening, and also plenty of showers, some blustery weather if you're out trick-or-treating later on Friday. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. A road traffic incident at the A8 westbound Bargeddie roundabout causes significant restrictions. Motorists should approach cautiously and expect delays. Meanwhile, the A38 southbound in Derbyshire is experiencing congestion. In Greater London, the M25 clockwise between junctions 25 and 26 faces a road collision, closing 3 of 4 lanes, resulting in hour-long delays. Lastly, the A31 eastbound in Dorset encounters minor delays, and on the trains, major disruptions affect the Gatwick Express service between Haywards Heath and Redhill. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good evening. It is 6 o'clock. This is Dewbs & Co. with me, Nana Acquit. I'm in for Michelle Dewberry. Coming up on the show this evening, in the latest scandal, because that's what it is, folks, it turns out that Habi Carter Axman Noor, that is the small boat migrant who stabbed a man to death, had form. He'd travelled across Europe on their nice open borders, the Schengen zone, committing crime in pretty much every country, until he was rightly rejected in the UK, but left out on the streets to commit murder. I say detain them, and it turns out there's no reason why we can't. The UK is unique in Europe with no maximum limit on immigration detention, so what on earth is going on? Why are we doing this? What about our human rights? More migrants running amok. Haydush Kabuti, who, yes, the sex pest who broke into the UK, was sent to prison after sexual assault, released by accident, then pretty much bribed to leave the UK with £500 of taxpayers' cash. You couldn't make it up. Shamana Mahmood said that she's pulled every lever. I'd be pulling the plug on a lot of them, including Livid Lamy. But it doesn't end there. The taxpayer is footing the bill, and it turns out making billionaires out of the three main companies supplying migrant accommodation. At least the migrants had somewhere to live, because it looks like British families in need will be at the back of the queue, as Labour are on track to miss their 1.5 million homes target. Don't take my word for it, that comes from the OBR. And Sir Keir Starmer won't say whether he plans to stand by his pledge not to raise taxes. I wonder why. And my panel tonight, pollster and academic Matt Goodwin, and also former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. But first, let's get your latest news headlines.
Nana, thank you, and good evening to you. Tonight at 6, a 22-year-old man, Safi Dawood, has been charged with murder and attempted murder. That's after a triple stabbing in Uxbridge that left dog walker Wayne Broadhurst dead. A 45-year-old man remains in hospital with life-changing injuries, and a 14-year-old boy was also stabbed, but he is expected to recover. The Home Office says Dawood, an Afghan national, arrived in the UK by lorry in 2020 and was granted asylum 2 years later. Police say the attack is not being treated as terrorism as detectives investigate the motive. Also breaking tonight, a major Microsoft outage has reportedly hit services worldwide, disrupting Heathrow Airport, NatWest, Asda and even Minecraft. The company says a global DNS issue has caused widespread problems across its Azure cloud platform and Microsoft 365 services, including Outlook and Teams. Some users here in the UK have also reported issues with the network O2, while in the US, Starbucks is among the companies affected. Microsoft says it is rerouting traffic to restore services. We will keep across any developments with that story as it develops. A teenager has been found guilty of murdering 16-year-old Harry Pittman, who was stabbed in the neck during New Year's Eve celebrations on Primrose Hill in London. 18-year-old Aris Lloyd Hall lunged at Harry with a dagger as crowds gathered to watch the fireworks in what prosecutors called a moment where revelry turned to tragedy in the blink of an eye. Harry collapsed and died minutes before midnight. Lloyd Hall, who was 16 at the time, claimed it was an accident, but was found guilty of murder at the Old Bailey after a retrial. He'll be sentenced next month. Migrant sex offender Hadushka Batu has been deported back to Ethiopia after being handed a £500 payment ahead of his removal. It's understood the money was offered because he had threatened to disrupt the process, with officials stressing it was an operational decision by removal teams, not by ministers. Kabatu was forcibly deported overnight and escorted by 5 officers on that flight. He was rearrested in North London on Sunday after a 3-day manhunt, just weeks after being convicted of sexually assaulting a schoolgirl and a woman in Epping, just days after arriving in the UK on a small boat. That comes as a small boat migrant who stabbed a man to death inside a Derby High Street bank has today been jailed for life with a minimum term of 25 years. 47-year-old Somali national Habi Nur pleaded guilty to murdering 37-year-old Govinda Dani Johal at Derby Crown Court. Nur launched the random attack inside a Lloyds bank on St Peter Street in May, just moments after angrily complaining about his refused asylum claim. Mr Johal was pronounced dead at the scene after being stabbed multiple times. Turning to news in the Middle East, and Israel says it has carried out another fresh strike on Gaza, accusing Hamas of preparing, they say, an imminent terror attack. As fears grow, the fragile ceasefire could collapse. The Israeli military says it hit weapons storage sites, claiming it was being used to plan an assault on IDF troops. It follows another night of heavy bombardment that reportedly killed more than 100 people, including dozens of children. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered powerful strikes in response to what he called repeated Hamas violations, though the group denies breaking the ceasefire. The IDF, though, says it will continue to uphold the agreement while removing any immediate threat. And in France, prosecutors have said 2 men arrested over the Louvre Museum heist have partially admitted their involvement in the theft of priceless jewels. 4 masked thieves broke into the Paris Museum on the 19th of October, escaping with valuable gems and exposing major security failings at the world's most visited museum. At a press conference today, the Paris prosecutor confirmed the jewels have not yet been recovered and the investigation is continuing. That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with you at 7 o'clock. Now, though, it's over to Nana.
Good evening. It's just coming up to 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. Welcome to Dewbs & Co with me, Nana Acquia. And joining me till 7, my panel, pollster, academic and GB News presenter Matt Goodwin, and also former Minister Bill Rammell. And as ever, send me your thoughts, your comments at gbnews.com/your say. I'd love to hear what you think about the topics we're discussing. So, a man who arrived in the UK on a small boat has been sentenced to life in prison for a shocking knife attack in Derby. 47-year-old Habi Kardi Nur, a Somali national, admitted murdering 37-year-old Govinda Singh Johal, known by friends as Danny, inside a Lloyds bank on St Peter Street on the 6th of May. Now, the attack came shortly after Nur expressed anger over the rejection of his asylum claim. Nur must serve a minimum of 25 years before being considered for release. And it's just absolutely shocking. It's disgraceful. So what do you think? Should people arriving in the UK illegally, via a small boat and also by other illegal means, be detained until their asylum claims are fully processed? Well, let's find out what my panel think. I'll go with you, Bill Rammell. What are your thoughts?
I think the case is grotesque. You know, just because his asylum claim was turned down, he almost went on a grotesque process of threatening a killing spree, and he tragically did kill 1 individual. And there's also almost a sense of entitlement, you know. I demand to be allowed in, and it's unacceptable. Very welcomely, he's been sentenced to life imprisonment.
Why do you think he's got a sense of entitlement there, Bill?
I don't know.
Do you think it's perhaps because when they come here, they're given pretty much everything, so then there becomes...
No, I don't think that's the case, but I think for this individual, that's clearly what came across. But he needs to... the prison sentence needs to be enacted. He needs to be deported as quickly as possible. But I do think in cases such as this, when you've gone through the process, when you've had an asylum claim turned down, 1, you need to be removed as quickly as possible, and 2, pending that, I think there is a case for detention, and I would hope that the government would bring that forward.
OK. Matt Goodwin.
Well,
I mean, Bill, you can say this is a disgraceful case, but it's the Labour government, it's the Labour Party that has set the foundation for all of these horrific cases that we're seeing. It's not just this tragic murder in Derby, it's the murder of Rhiannon White in Walsall, who was stabbed in the head 20 times by an illegal migrant from Sudan, the events we've seen obviously in Uxbridge, the murder of Terence Carney in Hartlepool, the murder of Thomas Roberts in Bournemouth. This is what happens, Bill, when you run a policy of open borders and you allow terrorists, murderers, rapists into our country, knowing they include terrorists, murderers and rapists, and then you put them in the heart of our communities, next to families, next to schools. You don't detain them, you don't process them offshore, you don't deport them, although you can deport them when you actually really want to deport them, as we've discovered with the case of Haidush Kabatu. You've lost control of the borders, Bill. And I'm just going to say something, I've never said this before. Every murder that happens in this country by an illegal migrant, every rape that happens in this country by an illegal migrant, every sexual assault that happens in this country by an illegal migrant is on the Labour government.
Utter rubbish. You know we haven't got a policy of open borders, that we're clearing up the mess that we inherit.
What would you call 200,000 people?
Hold on. That we're clearing up the mess that we inherited. Deportations are up significantly. We've dramatically increased the processing of asylum claims. And I know the case that you're trying to make for incendiary purposes, Matt. If you look at the figures, and I think any murder...
I'm angry, Bill.
Hold on, and I'm angry.
Not enough to do something about it.
Yeah, things are being done. Any murder, any killing is unacceptable. But the link you're trying to make, if you look at the figures, proportionately, foreign nationals commit less murders than British people.
Not true.
Those, go online. True. Those are what the figures bear out.
Not true, Bill. And Freedom of information requests show this extreme policy, and then you call us the extremists. This extreme policy you're imposing on this country, you are tearing this country apart. You are dividing our communities, and you are putting women and girls in this country, like Rhiannon White, at risk. And you need to admit that and do something about it.
The government is doing things about this, dramatically increasing the processing of claims, increasing deportations. You know, one of the things that's come out today, a 63% increase in raids on illegal working, and that's one of the biggest pull factors bringing asylum seekers to this country, working with other countries to drive the numbers down. But I think in cases... Control
the borders. I don't want deals with Vietnam. I don't want raids on illegal working practices.
You don't want to engage in the real world, Matt.
The borders closed and controlled.
And how do you do that, Matt?
Number one, leave the European Convention on Human Rights.
Which would make it more difficult to return foreign nationals to other countries.
There's a very clear template for controlling our borders, and you know it. You just don't want to go there because of your politics. You put universal human rights ahead of the British people. That's what the left has. That is your different view from everybody else. You prioritise people who are not from our country over our people. I reject that. It's not about public polling. It's not about that. You've asked me, how would I fix it?
So you always stand
as the how would I fix it? You asked me, how would I fix it?
And that wouldn't work.
You asked me, how would I control our borders?
And what you're
suggesting have the decency to listen to my answer. Leave the European Convention on Human Rights, which would allow us to deport illegal migrants and foreign criminals. Repeal Tony Blair's Human Rights Act, which entrenches the ECHR into domestic law. Detain and deport anybody who arrives at the border illegally. Process them offshore. Do not give £10 billion in welfare benefits to people who are not British. Do not put them in social housing. Keep that social housing for British people. Actually start putting the people of this country first, Bill. A year from now, if we did all of that, a year from now, you would have meaningful progress instead of every week we come on this show and you point at all this stuff that isn't making a difference. And the reason I'm getting more frustrated is another person has lost their life. Another person has lost their life. It's absolutely outrageous.
You have the decency to listen. You have the decency to listen. Take one element of that. Withdrawing from the ECHR would not only be wrong in principle, in my view, it would make it more difficult to remove people from the country because other countries, particularly European countries, countries would not cooperate with us. Now, you might fulminate against that, but that's the reality
No, it isn't
of the
the reality.
global situation
No,
that
it
we
isn't
work
the reality,
with. And
Bill.
unless we cooperate with other countries, we cannot tackle this problem.
Every lawyer uses Article 3 and Article 8 of the ECHR to block deportations, to support appeals. You know as well as I do.
Yes,
if we were like, I don't know,
reforming.
the United States of America, Donald Trump, not in the ECHR, deporting illegal migrants back to their country of origin, we should be doing that. I'm angry, Bill, because another guy has lost his life.
It's performative anger, Matt. That's what you're delivering. Performative anger.
How dare you?
You do it every time you come on the show. It's performative action, anger to make a political point.
Bill.
And you should confront the reality of how practically you reduce the asylum numbers and you increase deportation.
If you think I am angry because I'm on television, you don't know me at all. Rhiannon White was stabbed in the head with a screwdriver 20 times by an illegal migrant from Sudan, a young mother. I haven't heard Keir Starmer say anything about Rhiannon White. Now, let's face facts. If let's say, take that case. If she happened to be from a minority community, he'd be all over it. Sadiq Khan would be all over it.
You're saying
because what we have is a two-tier society.
You're playing with people's emotions and people's fears, and you're not practically engaging in how we practically tackle this problem and reduce numbers and increase deportations.
All right, well, listen. I'm telling you now, Bill, I'm angry. I'm apoplectic with rage at the way this government are behaving, and they're not doing anything in my book to stop this. You cannot have people come into this country who you do not know. They've come via illegal means, or they've come via dinghy or on a lorry or whatever, and then put them in the communities and allow them to roam free.
So
it doesn't make sense.
Nana, you would leave the Refugee Convention?
If it meant that I could detain people, but I don't think I even need to do that, because we are actually different to other countries. We are allowed to detain people for a longer period of time. So it's fine. I'd have them detained. I wouldn't allow them to roam the streets. That's the end of it.
You're entitled to that view. It's not my view. We should remain members of the Refugee Convention, but we need to dramatically change the way that the processing takes place.
We could probably still detain people and be a member of it, Bill.
And I agree with you. Once you've exhausted your asylum application, I think you should be detained.
They should be detained as soon as they arrive and then deported. What do you think? gbnews.com/you'll say. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Coming up, another case I want to talk about. Of course, after the break, a migrant who was paid £500 to be deported. You couldn't make it up.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Good evening, welcome to Dewbs & Co. Keeping me company till 7, Matt Goodwin and Bill Rammell. Lots of you have been getting in touch with your views as well, gbnews.com/your say. Gerald says, it's obvious the government is not doing enough. People are still losing their lives. Amanda says, hi, Nana, the country is in a shocking state. It's lawless. I don't care what sex, religion, race, creed or anything else people claim they are. As a parent, I want my children to be safe. If you are an overstayer or an illegal or a criminal, you go home. If you're British, you go to jail. No money, no homes, no rewards. And Bernadette says, I'm furious with past and present governments. You're right, isn't it? It's not just this lot, it's pretty much all of them. But of course, here comes another story. A convicted migrant sex offender, mistakenly released from prison, we saw him, didn't we, was paid £500 to be deported from the UK. Haidish Gabatu, who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl whilst living in an asylum hotel in Epping, was released in error on Friday. He did try and get back into prison, but they wouldn't let him. Sent him off to the train station with £76, or was it 73? And just 2 days later, he was then rearrested and put on a flight back to Ethiopia. Reports say the payments was made after Gabatu threatened to disrupt his removal, a decision taken by operational teams, not ministers. I wonder who advised him to do that. Right, well, I'll start with Matt Goodwin. Matt.
Well, when this guy illegally entered our country, the people watching the show, the British taxpayer, we paid for his accommodation. We paid for him to buy the alcohol and so on that he used while sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. We then paid for the police to arrest him. We paid for the jail, for the prison time. And then we paid him to leave the country. The British people paid him to leave the country. It is absurd. It's outrageous. It's an insult. It's also revealing that this Labour government can deport people when it wants to, much like it could find 2,000 homes on Ministry of Defence estate for Afghans when it wanted to. But it won't do that for military veterans from this country who are homeless. And it won't deport the 189,000 people who have broken our laws over the last, 6 years by entering this country illegally. Your government, your party, Bill, it's a disgrace.
Matt, it's not uncommon, though, for some countries to pay migrants, illegal migrants to leave, though, is it? I mean, this is...
I've got no problem with paying... I pay all of them to leave. I do what Sweden's doing. I'd have a voluntary repatriation... In fact, not voluntary. I'd have a repatriation programme. Give you £1,000 on the plane, go, and we're detaining and deporting everybody who's arriving here illegally. But what gets me is this Labour government tells us, well, it's very difficult to deport people, we should put them in the country. And then at the same time, this guy comes along and suddenly they find £500 and they put him on the plane and off he goes. It's an absolute insult to the British people.
Well, let's come back to the real world. This government has significantly increased deportations since it came to power. And let's deal with this particular case. It was a scandal that he was released when he should have been deported. There's rightly been an investigation started to get to the bottom of how the prison service actually reached that atrocious decision. He has been recaptured, which is very welcome, in a matter of a couple of days. He has now been deported. My understanding is that he was threatening to delay the process, he was threatening legal action, and a pragmatic decision was taken by the enforcement team to pay £500 to remove him. Now, I happen to believe that was the right decision. My question, however, is why the enforcement team took that decision and why it wasn't referred to ministers. I think that should have been a ministerial decision. I think they would have reached the same conclusion: deport him, get him out of the country as quickly as possible. But this is part of the problem with the Home Office, that officials are too often taking decisions which should be for politicians.
But somebody told him about the £500, but Urban says £500 is cheap. I would give all illegals £1,000 to get them out of the country. Would be a lot safer for us and cheaper. But the thing is, somebody told him about that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Anna, as well, I mean, this guy's a symbol. He's a symbol of a bigger problem. You know, we just heard from Bill in the earlier segment, well, there's no evidence for this and for that. The Freedom of Information requests are pretty clear. Guys like this, right, people from Afghanistan, people from Eritrea, people from Northern Africa, they're much more likely to commit rape and sexual assault. So this guy, actually, if you look at the evidence, this guy fits the bill. Yet still, OK, Keir Starmer's on social media saying, hey, we got him out the country, Shabana Mahmood. Hey, we got him out the country. Meanwhile, we're running. We still have our borders wide open. We're allowing in tens of thousands of these guys, who we also know are going to put British women and British girls at risk. Labour's patting itself on the back, saying, well, we got him out the country. It's just completely ridiculous, Bill. The whole thing's completely ridiculous. This is a 14-year-old girl. How many other girls in this country are going to be raped and sexually abused because of the total incompetence of your political party?
What we need to do is to drive down the numbers. If you've got the right to stay here, you should be able to stay here. That's where we part company, Matt.
Yeah.
I don't
want these people in my country.
You don't want to be part of the humane, cooperative world. I do. If you've got a right to be here, you should be able to be here. If you've not, we should remove you as quickly as possible. And as I said in the previous segment, if you have failed in your asylum claim until you're removed, I think there's a very strong case for detaining you. But we need to cooperate, and again, that's where we part company. Hold on, we need to cooperate with other countries to increase the rate at which we can deport people.
Let me just ask you a very specific question. Do you think people who enter this country illegally should be allowed to stay in this country?
They should have the right for their claims to be processed. Right. And then if their claims are rejected, we should remove them. And this government...
But just to be clear, Bill, I'm asking you, if somebody enters Britain illegally then, and they submit a claim for asylum, and that claim is approved, they should be allowed to stay indefinitely?
There's a whole series of barriers about how people can lawfully present their claim.
Simple question.
Once they have done it, if they have the right to be here, and many of them will have, then they should remain. If they haven't, we've got to dramatically increase the rate
I'm asking you that question because, once again, in the news this week, we see that one of those people that we did allow to remain in the country, allegedly, has gone on and murdered somebody. And what I see from this Labour government, time and time again, is a willingness to say to people, if you enter this country illegally, we will let you stay because you are approving 65 to 70%. Let me finish. You're approving 65 to 70% of all asylum claims. So you're basically allowing most of the people to stay. And then you're turning around and you're going, well, gee, I wonder why they're still coming. I wonder why they're still coming in their tens of thousands. By the next election, Bill, on current trends, there's going to be over 400,000 illegal migrants will have entered this country.
I think the numbers will come down significantly. No,
they're going up, Bill. They've never been as high.
Because we are taking practical measures, like deals with other countries, like passing legislation so that we tackle the gangs to reduce the numbers.
Do you know what this guy's going to tell his mates in Ethiopia? He's going to say, if you go to the UK illegally, right, they're going to give you a hotel, they're going to give you money, and then they're going to pay you to go.
So the case you were referring to was someone who legally had right to remain, and you then want to question their right to be
here.
Bill,
the next election is going to come down to this. You either put illegal migrants first, or you put the British people first. That is going to be the dividing line, and you're going to lose.
Piercing your simplistic solutions that are not practical and don't work.
We shall see. We shall see, because it's we'll be hurtling towards that next general election in the next 4 years. God help us. But listen, it's not just migrants who come here committing crime, and let's be fair, not all of them commit crime. But it's once you get them, where do you put them? And who is going to foot the bill for that? Of course, it's the taxpayer. And who operates those companies that enable the migrants to have accommodation? Well, Britain's multi-billion-pound asylum accommodation system has made huge profits, earning a combined £383 million from the taxpayer-funded contracts since 2019. There are three main providers which house tens of thousands of asylum seekers across the country, and they are recording record earnings. Are they cashing in on Britain's migration crisis? What do you think? Well, let's ask my panel. I'll start with you, Bill Rammell. There are pretty much three companies. It's Clear Springs, Serco, and there's one other.
Mears.
Yeah, that's right. So there's three of them, and they're making a fortune. Clear Springs, in particular, making about, I think it was one contract worth $7 billion. And then the amount that they said these things would cost us ballooned times three. What is going on, Bill? We can't even afford to have our own people housed, let alone that kind of a...
It's an atrocious mess. Yes. The report that has exposed this is a parliamentary inquiry, and bluntly, it's based on the Tory record when they were in government from 2019, when they let contracts, the cost of which have tripled. This government is sorting out the mess. So the excess profits, the government has already started the process of reclaiming those excess profits. Contracts have been amended so that there's already £1 billion saving to the taxpayer as a result of this. One of the contractors, SBHL, has been stripped of their contract, rightly so. And that's the way we need to go forward. But underpinning that is that we need to reduce the numbers, which the government is determined to do. And I actually think the very clear commitment that's always been there to end the use of hotels during this Parliament is the right one, and the government is now accelerating that to happen within the next year. And in major part, that will happen, and I think it's a good move, of using disused military bases, if necessary, prefabricated accommodation.
Will they still be able to roam free if you put them in these accommodation?
Well, I think it depends. I think if you have failed your claim, then in my view, you should be detained forcibly.
Just to be clear, what's going on, though, the people out there need to know what's going on. These companies are being bankrolled by the British state, who are using the British people's money, OK? They're using the British people's money to bankroll these companies like Serco, Clear Springs and Mears to offer more favourable contracts to illegal migrants than they're offering to the British people. In other words, the Labour government and the British state are using the people's money out there to outbid them in their own housing market. On what level is that fair? On what level is that right? On what level is that just? It's not, Bill. And the reason this is happening is because everybody in Westminster, except the Reform Party, is completely committed to maintaining not just the use of hotels, because I notice what you're doing, we're going to stop using the hotels. What you're going to do is you're going to expand the use of HMOs, houses for multiple occupancy, and you're going to keep putting these guys in the heart of communities, next to schools, next to families, next to synagogues, and you're going to say to people, well, we shut down the hotels. But no, what you're doing is you're going to increase the amount of money the state is spending by chucking all these people in HMOs and on the Ministry of Defence and State. Outrageous.
I wouldn't be in favour of increasing the use of HMOs, because I think, if anything, they bring even bigger problems, as they are in the midst of housing estates, than the use of hotels. The solution, and the government is setting it out clearly this week, is use of military camps, and that will bring some opposition. You know, when it's been tried in the past, there's been local opposition, but this is about practically resolving the problem, ending the use of hotels, but it's got to be accompanied by processing the claims much more quickly, removing people if your claim is not successful, and getting much greater cooperation to deport people.
Why do we even need to find accommodation, Bill? Why are they even here? Why don't we just control the borders so we don't have to do that? And then those homes, those houses, even maybe those rooms in the MOD estate, maybe they could go to British veterans struggling to find a home. Maybe they could go to young British professionals who have to suffer the humiliation of watching social housing go to people who are not even British while they are living in the outskirts, having to commute into our major cities. Lots of things could be solved.
Matt, because you know that British people would not want to live in military bases. They would not want to live in hotels. They want access to decent social housing. And you know as well that in virtually every local authority in the country, local residents migrants get priority access over income.
Do you know why you're on 17% of the vote this week? The lowest ever share of support for Labour in polling history in YouGov, 17%, because of stuff like this. Because people are not stupid. They can see this Labour government is putting outsiders, illegal migrants, criminals ahead of our own people.
And you know, Matt, you're only on 27% of the vote, and we saw in the Philly by-election that faced with a fundamental choice, there will be mass tactical voting at the next general election.
Sorry, just as a reminder, your party was completely wiped out in Caerphilly in an area that Labour has dominated for a century.
And I don't welcome that, and I think it was a very, very bad result.
Get used to it.
But if you are crowing as a result of that,
nobody's crowing, Bill.
Well, you are, Matt.
No.
And
everyone
there's
furious.
an article on the GB News website talking about the fact that so many people are opposed to reform, they will tactically vote to stop you winning the general election.
We shall see. Time will tell. But a Serco spokesperson said Serco is a global business operating in over 20 countries across defence, immigration, citizen services, justice and transport. Our profits come from our entire business, and some and more than half of them come from outside the UK. We want to see an end to the use of hotels for asylum accommodation and have viable solutions to achieve that. We have already reduced the number of hotels we use by 50%, and we continue to work with the Home Office to deliver a long-term strategy which delivers for taxpayers. And then Mears, which is another of the companies that is used, a Mears spokesperson said the profits of the AASC contract are capped by the Home Office, and our margin is small at 5 to 6%, which is below typical margins on large public sector service contracts. The contracts include clauses for payments to be reconciled over the time and for profits above a tendered contractual level to be shared back to the Home Office. We work on an open book basis with the Home Office, and following an independent audit, Mears has made appropriate and agreed payments back to the Home Office. Mears' work on the asylum contracts is only one element of our revenues. Our strong financial performance is due to overall growth in the business, including major new contracts that are not related to our work as asylum accommodation. I think we protest too much there. We also reached out to the other major supplier, Clear Springs Ready Homes, for comment, but are yet to hear back. Of course. But coming up, the Prime Minister refuses to rule out tax rises, and Labour's house-building targets are slipping away. Have Sir Keir Starmer and his Chancellor lost control of Britain's finances?
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Generally brighter across many areas of Europe this week, though we can't rule out some rain, particularly across southwestern areas of Spain and also parts of Portugal, all down to an area of low pressure just to the west of the UK, swinging in some fronts at times. Also fairly showery across northern areas of Italy. Sardinia too could also see some spells of heavy showers, but elsewhere across the Mediterranean, pushing into Greece, it should be mostly dry and settled with some sunshine. Now there's still some showers in the forecast over the weekend, but otherwise feeling warm in any sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It'll be a chilly start as we head into tomorrow, soon turning wet and windy in the west with some hazy spells of sunshine elsewhere. Low pressure has very much been dominating our weather over the past few days, but slight ridge of high pressure means we'll see some slightly drier conditions as we progress through into the evening. Some showers will remain for a time, but these will soon ease away as we head our way towards dawn. Light winds, clear skies, so that means it is going to be turning chilly as we head our way into Thursday. It's likely we'll see some frost, particularly across Scotland, northern areas of England, but for all it is going to be a chilly start. Many towns and cities around the mid-single figures. We could also see some mist and fog patches through the early hours. These should lift and clear away relatively quickly through the course of the morning. Still some scattered showers around coasts of Scotland, but otherwise a dry, bright start to the day, but feeling cold with some patchy frost. We'll start to see some thicker areas of cloud push their way into Northern Ireland, also elsewhere across western areas of Wales and southwest England. But for the large majority, it should be a dry but chilly start to the day. Now, some spells of sunshine during the first part of the morning, but some thicker cloud will edge its way in from the west, creating any sunshine more in the way of hazy spells of sunshine. And then through the course of the afternoon, we will see some outbreaks of rain start to push their way into Northern Ireland and some western areas of England, Wales and also Scotland, and some quite strong blustery winds associated with this, particularly around exposed coasts of Northern Ireland. Still on the chilly side, highs reaching around 14 to 15 degrees Celsius in the south. Now for Friday, Halloween, we'll see a mix of sunshine and showers, but some of these showers could be quite intense, merging into longer spells of rain as they push their way in from the west. A good chance we could see some hail and thunder associated with these, and it is set to be quite a blustery day for all, and that includes into the evening if you are out trick-or-treating, and then we'll see a continuation of the sunshine and showers over the weekend. That's it from me, bye-bye.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A8 westbound faces restrictions at Bargedi roundabout due to a road incident. Caution is advised. Congestion on the M4 westbound between junction 40 Tieback and junction 45 Innisforgan may cause delays. The M11 southbound between junction 7A and junction 7 has one lane open due to a collision. The M25 anti-clockwise in Kent between junction 4 and junction 2 is experiencing congestion. And on the trains, major disruption is reported between Haywards Heath and Redhill, affecting both Gatwick Express and Great Western Railway services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, 39 minutes after 6 o'clock. This is Dewbs & Co with me, Nana Acquia, and my panel tonight, Matt Goodwin and Bill Rammell. Now, lots of you have been getting in touch. I will read some of those, but do you remember when Sir Keir Starmer said this?
We have been very clear that for working people, we are not going to increase their taxes. So that means we are not increasing income tax, national insurance or VAT.
Really? Well, now it seems tax rises are on their way this autumn. During PMQs earlier today, Sir Keir Starmer refused to repeat his pledge not to raise taxes when pressed by Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch.
Last year, in its manifesto, Labour promised not to increase income tax, not to increase national insurance and not to increase VAT. Does the Prime Minister still stand by his promises?
Well, Mr Speaker, I'm glad that the Leader of the Opposition is now finally talking about the economy. I can update the House, Mr Speaker. Retail sales are higher than expected. Inflation is lower than expected. Growth has been upgraded this year. And, Mr Speaker, the UK stock market is at an all-time high.
So, a non-answer. Right, Matt Goodwin.
Well, I think basically the political economy that has been running this country for much of the last 20, 30 years basically is bust. It's broken. And nobody in Westminster, Tory, Labour, are willing to tell the British people the truth about what is going on. Taxes are at the highest burden for 70 years. We're spending too much money as a country. Our deficit is too big. It's going to take another 10 years just to get to a place where we can cover our current spending commitments. We've got no productivity, low growth. Our debt is through the roof. We're spending £100 billion a year just servicing the interest on our country's credit card. Meanwhile, both Labour and the Tories have committed us to these absurd projects around broken borders, that's £15 billion. Net zero, that's about £15 billion a year. You got £10 billion on welfare benefits for people who aren't even British. You got another £14 billion on foreign aid. Nobody is actually being honest with the British people about what's going on. And when Labour came into power, they couldn't even reform welfare spending. Couldn't even get welfare spending reforms through. £5 billion saving, totally poxy, meaningless. We are heading for disaster unless someone turns the Titanic around, and it's not going to be Labour and the Conservatives.
Well, is it going to be reform, Matt? I hear what you're saying, and, you know, people shouldn't judge you at the national level because you haven't got a track record. You have got a track record starting in local government, and all your councils came in with big promises about how you're going to save waste and cut the council tax. What's happening? No real waste identified because it's
no,
not
why
real.
are taxes going up, Bill?
Hold on.
Why
and
are
each of your
taxes going
councils
up?
is now saying that it's going to increase the council tax by 5%.
Why are Labour about to put taxes up?
And let me answer that question. One, what's happening internationally. Two, tariffs. And three, the major OBR reclassification on productivity, majorly accounting for the economic costs of Brexit. Now, I think one of the questions, and I know that Rachel Reeves is furious about this, is why the OBR are making that reassessment now instead of in the last two Tory budgets where Jeremy Hunt was scandalously allowed to cut national insurance by 4 pence in the pound. It wasn't fundable, it wasn't sustainable because of that lack of productivity. Now, in terms of what Keir...
Am I allowed to come back to any of that?
You've had a good say, Matt. In terms of what Keir said today, he gave the classic answer any Prime Minister will give about tax rises this close to the budget. I actually don't think the decisions have been taken. There are still too many variables. I don't ultimately think the government will breach its manifesto commitments.
Bill,
but there are other taxes that will go up.
Stay with us, to be continued. We'll do this in just a moment after this.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Dewbs & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GBNews,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless.
I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okwir, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good evening, this is GB News. My panel tonight, Matt Goodwin and Bill Rammell. Now, before the break, we were discussing the possible tax rises coming in autumn. Matt Goodwin.
Well...
Your response?
The issue is this. Basically, Labour came in and they've blamed everybody for these coming tax rises, everybody except the people who happen to be running the country. We're blaming Brexit, we're blaming Nigel Farage, we're blaming Donald Trump, we're blaming tariffs, we're blaming global headwinds. What we're not talking about is Labour jacking up spending on public sector workers. What we're not talking about is Labour failing to reform the tens of billions that we're spending on welfare. Couldn't even get welfare reform through. They're not talking about the 15 billion we're spending on our broken borders. They're not talking about the 10 billion we're spending on welfare benefits for people who aren't even British, the 15 billion a year on net zero, the 50 billion a year on waste in the civil service. It's about that, Bill. You put all these numbers together and then they have the audacity to say, well, gee, I don't know where Nigel Farage is going to get the money from. He's going to get the money from basically taking a sledgehammer to all of these projects that have made us poorer, left us with the highest energy prices in the Western world, with broken borders and, 0.5%, 1% growth, one of the lowest growth rates. I just think somebody in Westminster needs to be real with the people. We can't afford to live like this anymore. We have to massively cut back on spending, and we have to find our way to a serious growth strategy.
Well, let's be real, and to take one of those figures, net zero, is 350 billion over 25 years, half of it coming from the private sector. It's about £1 or £2 billion a year.
But where are the energy cuts, Bill? Where are the lower energy bills?
What it demonstrates, and you're demonstrating it in local government, is this idea that there are easy savings to make in order to square the circle is not realistic. And what I know is that every area of public spending, there is a demand from the public for more spending, whether it's roads, whether it's potholes, whether it's but those are reasonable aspirations from people, whether it's social care, whether it's the National Health Service, whether it's school budgets. People want more. And what you're not being, Matt, is candid about where and how you will levy the cuts.
I've just told you.
That's going to be your... No, it doesn't add up.
To be fair, Bill, he did say where that excess spending was happening.
And he was grossly exaggerating.
Yeah, no, I wasn't grossly exaggerating. Only this year we learned 10 billion on welfare benefits for people who are not even British. Reform have said they will restrict welfare benefits for people who are British. There's 10 billion right there.
Right, and the day after that announcement, it fell apart when suddenly European Union citizens were not part of that and the costs dramatically fall. And I've given you one example of, your claims. 15 billion for net zero per year is simply not true.
Approximately.
It's about 1 or 2 billion.
Let me give you another example.
It's not 1 or 2 billion.
Well, listen, OK, well, we can talk about those figures, but let's talk about these, because Labour promised to build 1.5 million new homes by the end of the decade. Well, now the government plans have all come sort of under fresh scrutiny as house builders warn that they're nowhere near meeting Labour's flagship target. Is this another political promise already broken? Bill Rammell.
No, it's not. This government is committed to delivering 1.5 million new homes by the end of this Parliament. It made clear that it wouldn't be a linear process because the system that we inherited was so bankrupt. But there is a whole range of changes going through the planning framework to increase house building.
Hang on, you built 200,000 homes last year. 200,000 homes last year. You ran a net migration rate of nearly 500,000, and we got 200,000 illegals in the country on top of that.
So you're not in favour of liberalising the planning laws, and you're not in favour of more house building.
Bill, it's called supply and demand, my friend. When demand goes up, we need to build more homes.
Are you in favour,
mass immigration?
Hold on.
Homes.
Are you in favour of building more homes by liberalising the planning laws?
I want to deal with the housing crisis through supply and demand. Simple choice, Bill. It's this: you can have available affordable housing, or you can have mass uncontrolled immigration. You can't have both.
So you're not in favour of liberalising the planning laws, increasing the number of planning officers, bringing in effectively a default planning assumption. You're not in favour of house building.
I'm going to just say something that might... I'm worried about saying it because I think it might blow your brain, but I'm going to say it, OK? I think all future housing policy should be organised around the principle of national preference, which means British families, British people get houses before anybody else.
You're completely ducking the question.
No, I'm not.
You know that if you removed every asylum seeker, you'd still have a massive housing problem in this country, and you're not committed to doing anything about it.
All right, well, do you trust this man then, though? Because this is Steve Reed. He's a person in charge of it, and he couldn't really tell us how many houses were being built.
How many new homes have been built since Labour took power?
I don't have the exact... I'm not Wikipedia.
You don't have...
No, I'm not Wikipedia.
No,
I'm here to talk to you about policy.
See, so there he is. That's the Housing Secretary, Steve Reed, talking about he didn't know the number of new houses. I mean, how can the people trust the Labour government if their own ministers...
Because they can look at the changes that we are making, the commitment to new towns and other measures. But I'll tell you what's interesting about this story. This story has come about because the National House Building Federation wrote to the Office for Budget Responsibility saying that the plans were too optimistic in a candid attempt to lobby for tax changes. I have never seen such a self-defeating, grotesque element on behalf of business, and it's self-defeating.
All right, final for you, Matt.
We're not going to solve the housing crisis. We're not going to solve any major crisis in this country until we get real about what is actually going on in this country. And I think the 17% for Labour that we see in the YouGov poll this week, the lowest ever on record, tells you all you need to know about the mood out there in the country.
And you're not real, Matt, about building the houses that are needed.
All right. Well, listen, some of you have been getting in touch with your thoughts. Robbie says, prevention is better than cure. Simple, prevent attacks from illegals. Don't let them in. Lots of you talking about that. I don't leave all my doors and windows open all the time, as someone might break in. Well, UK is one giant open door. On tax rises, Jeff says decades of mismanagement in local government is not going to be fixed in a few months by reform. It's going to take years. All right, I've got to say a huge thank you to my brilliant panel. Matt Goodwin, thank you very much. And also Bill Rummel, thank you very much. And also a huge thank you to you at home for your company. I'll be back tomorrow doing Dewbs & Co at 6 o'clock. But up next, it is Martin Dewberry. He will be doing Farage.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It'll be a chilly start as we head into tomorrow, soon turning wet and windy in the west with some hazy spells of sunshine elsewhere. Low pressure has very much been dominating our weather over the past few days, but slight ridge of high pressure means we'll see some slightly drier conditions as we progress through into the evening. Some showers will remain for a time, but these will soon ease away as we head our way towards dawn. Light winds, clear skies, so that means it is going to be turning chilly as we head our way into Thursday. It's likely we'll see some frost, particularly across Scotland, northern areas of England, but for all it is going to be a chilly start. Many towns and cities around the mid-single figures. We could also see some mist and fog patches through the early hours. These should lift and clear away relatively quickly through the course of the morning. Still some scattered showers around coasts of Scotland, but otherwise a dry, bright start to the day, but feeling cold with some patchy frost. We'll start to see some thicker areas of cloud push their way